Commander Zekthar stood on the bridge of the Harmonious Discovery and watched the stars pass by on the main viewing screen. His long fingers tapped against the armrest of his command chair. The patterns of light streaming past the ship always calmed him. He had been a ship captain for 20 cycles now, and he still loved the peace of deep space. The Harmonious Discovery was not a large ship. It carried only 47 crew members from 6 different species. They were scientists and explorers, not warriors. Their mission was simple and boring, just the way Zekthar liked it. They mapped new jump routes through unexplored space. They took samples of asteroids and comets. They measured radiation levels and gravity wells. It was steady work that helped the Galactic Council expand its charts of the universe. "Commander, I am detecting something unusual," said Lieutenant Salmeet from her station. She was a Tilmarian with 4 eyes that could see across multiple light spectrums. Her voice carried a note of curiosity. Zekthar's ears perked up. In his experience, unusual things in deep space were usually just sensor errors or natural phenomena. "What kind of unusual, Lieutenant?" "An energy signature, sir. It does not match anything in our database." Salmeet's fingers danced across her console. "The pattern is very strange. It pulses every 3.7 seconds. Very regular, very artificial." "Could it be a navigation beacon from another council ship?" Zekthar asked. He stood up from his chair and walked closer to Salmeet's station. "No, sir. The signature is completely unknown, and there is more." Salmeet looked up at him with her upper set of eyes while her lower eyes continued scanning her readouts. "There is a physical object at the source location. Mass readings suggest it is a vessel of some kind." That was interesting. Zekthar felt a small flutter of excitement in his chest. In all his years of exploration, he had never found anything truly alien. Every species in the Galactic Council was known and catalogued. Every type of ship had been recorded thousands of years ago. "Show me the visual." The main screen changed. At first, Zekthar saw nothing but empty space and distant stars. Then Salmeet adjusted the magnification. A small dot appeared in the center of the screen. She increased the zoom factor again and again. The object came into focus, and Zekthar felt his breath catch in his throat. It was definitely a ship, but like nothing he had ever seen before. The design was all wrong. Council ships were smooth and curved, built with artistic beauty in mind as well as function. This ship looked harsh and angular. It had straight edges and flat surfaces. Large protrusions jutted out from the main hull, at odd angles. The color was dark, almost black, with no decorative elements visible. "By the Founders," whispered Science Officer Kelrin from his station. "Is that a warship?" Zekthar stared at the image. The ship did have an aggressive appearance, but he reminded himself not to judge by looks alone. "We cannot know that just from appearance. How large is it?" Salmeet checked her instruments. "Approximately 400 meters in length. Mass is considerable for its size. The hull composition is reading as very dense metals and alloys, some of which I cannot identify. 400 meters was not huge, but it was substantial. The Harmonious Discovery was only 220 meters long." Zekthar made a decision. "Set a course to intercept. Slow approach, passive sensors only. I want to know everything about that ship before we get too close." The ship's pilot, a young Vryn named Tekmil, nodded and adjusted their trajectory. The Harmonious Discovery changed direction smoothly, heading toward the mysterious vessel. As they drew closer over the next hour, more details became clear. The unknown ship appeared to be drifting. Its power signatures were minimal, just barely, above background radiation levels. There were no active engines, no maneuvering thrusters, no signs of life. "It looks like a derelict," Kelrin said. He sounded excited now. "A completely unknown derelict. Do you know what this could mean? An undiscovered species. This could be the finding of the century." Zekthar was more cautious. "Or it could be a trap." "Salmeet, any signs of active weapon systems?" "Negative, sir. I am detecting what might be weapon ports, but they are all closed and inactive. If this ship has weapons, they are completely powered down." Salmeet paused. "Commander, I am now close enough to detect markings on the hull. There are symbols and characters, but they are in no language in our database. The excitement on the bridge was growing. Even Zekthar felt it now. To discover a completely unknown species was rare beyond measure. The Galactic Council had 40,000 member species and knew of thousands more that were not yet advanced enough to join. But those were all catalogued and studied. A truly unknown spacefaring civilization? That had not happened in Zekthar's lifetime. Bring us to within 500 meters and hold position, Zekthar ordered. Begin full sensor sweeps. I want detailed scans of every centimeter of that hull. Kelrin, analyze those markings. See if our computers can begin translating the language. The harmonious discovery slowed and stopped at a safe distance from the derelict. The sensor arrays went to full power, beaming invisible waves of radiation at the unknown ship. Data began flooding into their computers. For 10 minutes, everything proceeded normally. The crew worked efficiently, gathering information and making discoveries. The unknown ship's design suggested an emphasis on durability and function over beauty. The hull was heavily armored. Those protrusions that Zekthar had noticed appeared to be sensor arrays, communication dishes, and possibly weapons platforms, though the weapons themselves were housed internally behind closed ports. Then everything changed. The unknown ship woke up. Lights blazed to life across its hull. Power signatures spiked from almost nothing to massive levels in less than 2 seconds. The closed weapon ports began to open with mechanical precision. "Commander!" Sal Meets' voice was sharp with alarm. "The vessel is activating. Power levels are increasing exponentially. Weapon systems are coming online." Zekthar gripped the arms of his chair. "Move us back. Get some distance." Before Techmeal could react, their communications console erupted with sound. It was a harsh blaring noise like an alert klaxon. Then words appeared on their screens, translated automatically by their computers. "Warning. Unidentified vessel approaching. Defensive protocols engaged. Identify yourself immediately." The unknown ship was moving now. It rotated smoothly to face them directly. More weapon ports opened. Zekthar could see dark openings in the hull where instruments of destruction waited. "They think we are hostile," Kelrin said. "Commander, we must communicate that we mean no harm." "Sal Meet, activate First Contact Protocol 7, Zekthar ordered, trying to keep his voice calm. Broadcast on all frequencies. First Contact Protocol 7 was ancient and universal. It began with simple mathematical sequences to demonstrate intelligence. Then it showed images of peace and cooperation. Then it offered information about the Galactic Council and its mission of unity and exploration. But the unknown ship did not seem to care about protocols. New text appeared on their screens. "This is Terran Federation Warship, TFW Resolute. Stand. Down or be fired upon. You have 30 seconds to comply." "Terran?" Zekthar said the word carefully. It meant nothing to him. "Computer, search all databases for the term Terran Federation." The computer's response was immediate. No results found. Sal Meet was frantically working at her console. "Commander, their weapons are fully active now. I am reading targeting sensors locking onto our ship. Sir, their weapons they are not like ours." "What do you mean?" Zekthar demanded. "They are not energy weapons. I am detecting kinetic accelerators, chemical explosive warheads, and something else I cannot identify. The power readings suggest weapons of enormous destructive potential." Sal Meet's voice shook slightly. "Commander, these weapons are forbidden by council law. They are barbaric, banned for 10,000 years." Zekthar felt cold. The Galactic Council had abandoned explosive and kinetic weapons millennia ago. Such weapons were crude and devastating, destroying, without precision. Modern warfare, in the rare instances it occurred, used clean energy weapons that disabled rather than destroyed. But this unknown species, these Terrans, had apparently never received that message. 15 seconds to comply, the alien ship broadcast. "Move us away, maximum speed," Zekthar ordered, "and keep broadcasting our peaceful intentions." Techmeal pushed the engines to full power. The harmonious Discovery began to accelerate away from the warship. But the Terran vessel moved, too. It matched their speed effortlessly, keeping pace with them. More than that, it was maneuvering to cut off their escape routes. "It is hurting us," Selmeet said quietly, "keeping us in its firing solution." Zekthar's mind raced. They were a science vessel with minimal defensive shields and no weapons, beyond a small point defense laser meant for clearing debris. Against a fully armed warship, they would last seconds at best. But he could not understand why this was happening. They had done nothing wrong. They had approached peacefully. They had broadcast their intentions clearly. 5 seconds to comply. "All stop," Zekthar shouted. "Cut all engines. Power down active sensors. Show them we are not a threat." The ship shuddered as Techmeal killed their engines. They drifted to a stop in space, completely vulnerable. The Lina Terran warship continued its approach, its weapon ports still open and targeting them. "Transmit this on all frequencies," Zekthar said quickly. "We are the harmonious Discovery of the Galactic Council. We are a science vessel on a peaceful mission. We mean you no harm. Please respond." For a long moment, nothing happened. The warship continued to approach. Zekthar could see it more clearly now through the viewing screen. It was a brutal-looking thing, all harsh angles and heavy armor. It looked like it had been built for one purpose only: war. Then finally a response came. But it was not what Zekthar expected. "Terran Federation Warship, TFW Resolute to unknown vessel. Maintain current position. Do not power any weapons or sensors. We are attempting translation of your transmission." There was something different about this message. It sounded less automated, more personal, as if an actual being was now controlling the transmission rather than a computer. "Unknown vessel, we are receiving your transmission. Please stand by. Our crew is waking from cryosleep. This will take approximately 10 minutes. Zekthar blinked in confusion. "Cryosleep? What is cryosleep?" Kelran spoke up from his science station. "It is an old theory, sir. Some primitive species used to freeze their crew members during long journeys to preserve resources and prevent aging. But no council species has used such technology in over 1,000,000 years. It is completely obsolete." The unknown ship, the Terran warship, hung in space before them. Now that it had stopped moving aggressively, Zekthar could study it more carefully. He noticed things he had missed before. Scorch marks on the hull, as if it had been in combat. Patched sections where repairs had been made. This was not a new ship. It had seen action, had survived battles. The crew of the harmonious Discovery waited in tense silence. 10 minutes had never felt so long. Zekthar kept expecting the warship to suddenly open fire, but it simply waited with them. Finally, a new message came through. This time it included video. A face appeared on the screen and Zekthar had to suppress a reaction of surprise. The being looked almost predatory. It had 2 eyes, both facing forward like a hunter. Its skin was dark and smooth. Hair grew from the top of its head in tight curls. The mouth was small but showed teeth when it spoke. "This is Captain Jessica Okonkwo of the Terran Federation Warship Resolute," the being said. The translation software struggled for a moment, then caught up. "I apologize for the aggressive response. Our automated systems detected your sensor sweeps and interpreted them as hostile action. We are confused. We have never encountered your species before. Please, can you explain who you are and what you want?" Zekthar felt relief wash over him. The Terran could communicate. She sounded confused but not aggressive. He signaled for the communications officer to open a channel. "Captain Okonkwo, I am Commander Zekthar of the Galactic Council ship Harmonious Discovery. We are equally confused. We have never encountered your species either. We detected your vessel and approached to investigate, believing it to be an abandoned derelict. We meant no harm." There was a pause. Captain Okonkwo's face showed surprise, then what might have been concern. "The Galactic Council? I have never heard of such an organization. How many species does it contain? Approximately 40,000 member species, Zekthar said. And we have records of thousands more. But you, Captain, your Terran Federation, is not in any of our databases. Where do you come from? Captain Okonkwo's expression changed to something Zekthar could not read. Commander, I think we need to have a much longer conversation, and I think both of our civilizations are in for quite a shock. Captain Jessica Okonkwo sat in her command chair and tried to process what she was seeing on the screen. The alien commander, this Zekthar, looked like nothing from Earth's imagination. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. His head was elongated and his ears were pointed and mobile, twitching as he spoke. When he gestured with his hands, she counted 6 fingers on each one. Behind her, the bridge crew of the Resolute was still shaking off the effects of cryo-sleep. Lieutenant Marcus Webb sat at the weapons station, drinking water and trying to focus. Ensign Yuki Tanaka worked the communications console, her hands still trembling slightly from the cold of revival. Commander David Okonkwo, Jessica's younger brother and second in command, stood beside her chair with a medical scanner in his hand, checking her vitals. My readings are stable, David, Jessica said quietly without looking away from the screen. Focus on the crew. All personnel are revived and at their stations, David reported. Some nausea and disorientation, but nothing serious. The emergency. Wake-up protocols worked as designed. Jessica nodded. The emergency protocols were designed for exactly this kind of situation. When the ship's AI detected a potential threat, it would wake the crew from cryosleep and activate defensive systems. Unfortunately, the AI had no context for alien vessels. It had treated a peaceful science ship as a hostile contact. Commander Zekthar, Jessica said, choosing her words carefully. I need to understand our situation. You say you have 40,000 member species in your Galactic Council. That is a number beyond our comprehension. Humanity has only been in space for 50 years. We have explored only a tiny region around our home star. We thought we were alone in the universe. On the screen, Zekthar's large eyes grew even wider. 50 years? You have only had faster-than-light travel for 50 years? Actually, we have only had FTL for 15 years, Jessica corrected. We have been in space for 50 years total, but most of that was limited to our own solar system. There was a long silence. Jessica could see Zekthar conferring with his crew. Other aliens appeared briefly in the background of the video feed, all of them different species. One had 4 eyes, another had what looked like tentacles instead of arms. Jessica felt a sense of vertigo. Earth had been searching for alien life for centuries. They had found nothing, no signals, no evidence. And now here was an entire galactic civilization that had existed for who knew how long. Commander, Zekthar said finally, I think I understand why our computers have no record of your species. You are very, very new to the galactic community. You have not yet made formal contact with the Council. In fact, we have made first contact with you by accident. That seems to be the case, Jessica agreed. She made a decision. Commander, I propose we both power down our weapons and have a peaceful discussion. My crew and I are willing to lower our guard if you are willing to do the same. Captain Okonkwo, we never raised our guard, Zekthar said gently. The Harmonious Discovery is a science vessel. We have no weapons beyond a small laser meant for clearing space debris. We could not harm you if we wanted to. Jessica felt embarrassed. She had been threatening a peaceful exploration ship with the Resolute's full arsenal. I apologize, Commander. Our protocols are perhaps too aggressive for this situation. Your protocols kept your crew alive, Zekthar said. In that they succeeded. Now, Captain, I have many questions, but perhaps the most important one is this. What is your ship doing in this sector of space? We are very far from any charted territories. Jessica pulled up the navigation display. We are on a long-range patrol mission. The Terran Federation is expanding its exploration of nearby space. We have been in cryosleep for 18 months, following an automated flight path. Our mission was to map this region and then return home. She paused, studying the star charts. According to our navigation computer, we drifted off course due to an unexpected gravity well 3 months ago. We were never supposed to be in this exact location. A fortunate accident, then, Zekthar said. Or perhaps fate. Captain, with your permission, I would like to send a data package to your ship. It contains basic information about the Galactic Council, including star charts, historical records, and language databases. It will help you understand what you have discovered. Jessica looked at her brother. David nodded. We can receive it. In an isolated system, scan it for threats before integrating it. Agreed, Jessica said. Send your data package, Commander, and we will prepare one for you about humanity and Earth. The next hour passed quickly. The two ships remained at a safe distance from each other, but the tension had eased. Data flowed between them. Jessica watched as her crew processed the information from the Galactic Council. What they learned was staggering. The Galactic Council had existed for over 3 million years. It had been founded by 6 ancient species who had met each other through natural exploration. Over time, more and more species had joined. The Council's purpose was to maintain peace, facilitate trade, and help younger species develop safely. Wars were incredibly rare in Council space. There were strict laws and treaties. Disputes were settled through negotiation and arbitration. The last major war had been over 50,000 years ago, and it had been considered a terrible tragedy that cost millions of lives. This is incredible, David said, reading over Jessica's shoulder. They have achieved something humanity has dreamed about for centuries. True galactic peace. But as Jessica read deeper, she began to see the cracks in that peace. The Council maintained its tranquility partially through isolation. They avoided contact with aggressive species. They had designated entire regions of space as quarantine zones, and most tellingly, they had very few military vessels. Look at this, Lieutenant, Webb said from his station. Their largest warships are described as defense monitors. They are designed to stop asteroids and clear space debris. They have minimal offensive capability. Jessica frowned. How do they defend themselves from hostile forces? According to these records, they rely on diplomacy and distance, Ensign Tanaka said. Most hostile species are too primitive to have FTL travel. The few that do are either integrated into the Council or avoided entirely. A thought occurred to Jessica. What about pirates, raiders, criminal organizations? The crew searched the database. They found references to a species called the Krill, described as raiders who attacked isolated ships, but the entries were sparse and old. The Krill operated far from Council space in the outer regions. They were a nuisance, not a threat. They have forgotten how to fight, Jessica said quietly. They have had peace for so long that they do not maintain real military forces. David looked troubled. Is that such a bad thing? Maybe we could learn from them. Humanity has been at war with itself for our entire history. Maybe their way is better. Jessica did not answer. She was remembering the history lessons from her childhood, Earth's wars, the terrible weapons humanity had created, the millions who had died before the nations finally united into the Terran Federation. Humanity had learned to make peace with itself only 50 years ago, and even now, tensions remained. The screen commander Zekthar appeared again. Captain Okonkwo, we have reviewed your data package. Your species has a very intense history. That was diplomatic phrasing. Jessica appreciated it. Yes, Commander. Humanity has not always been peaceful. We have made many mistakes. But you have also shown remarkable resilience, Zekthar said. Your species survived multiple extinction-level events caused by your own weapons. You rebuilt your civilization after devastating wars, and you eventually united your entire planet under a single government. That is impressive. Jessica smiled slightly. We prefer to think of it as stubborn rather than impressive. We do not give up easily. I am noticing that, Zekthar said. His ears twitched in what might have been amusement. Captain, I have a proposal. The nearest Galactic Council station is approximately 3 weeks' travel from here. I would like to escort your ship there and facilitate formal first contact between humanity and the Council. This is too important to leave to chance encounters in deep space. Jessica considered the offer. She needed to report this discovery to Earth, but the communications lag was significant at this distance. It would take weeks for a message to reach home and weeks more for a response. In the meantime, establishing a relationship with this Galactic Council seemed like the logical choice. "We accept your offer, Commander," Jessica said. "The Resolute will accompany your ship to the Council station." "Excellent," Zekthar said. "I will transmit the navigation coordinates. We can depart whenever you are ready." The next 3 weeks proved to be a fascinating experience for both crews. The two ships traveled together through jump space, emerging periodically to recalibrate and communicate. Zekthar and Jessica spoke daily, sharing information about their respective civilizations. The Vryn crew of the Harmonious Discovery was both horrified and fascinated by human history. They watched archived videos of Earth's world wars with expressions of shock. They could not comprehend how a species could create nuclear weapons and actually use them against their own kind. But they were also drawn to human art and music. Lieutenant Salmeet became obsessed with human paintings, particularly the works of the Renaissance and the Japanese prints. Science Officer Kelrin spent hours listening to human music, from classical symphonies to modern electronic compositions. "Your species feels emotions very intensely," Zekthar observed during one of their conversations. "Council species experience emotions, of course, but we have evolved to be more balanced, more controlled. Humans seem to live at extremes." Jessica laughed. "That is one way to put it. We feel everything strongly. Love, hate, joy, anger. It makes us passionate, but it also makes us dangerous." "Indeed," Zekthar said softly. "Captain, I must be honest with you. When we arrive at the Council station, there will be debate about humanity's membership in the Council. Some species will welcome you. Others will be afraid." "Afraid of us?" Jessica was surprised. "Commander, we are one species on one small ship. The Council has 40,000 member civilizations. Why would they fear us?" Zekthar was quiet for a moment. "Because, Captain, you carry weapons that we banned millennia ago. Because your ship is designed for war in a way that our ships have not been for countless generations. Because you come from a culture that still remembers how to fight, and we have forgotten." Jessica understood then. It was not about technology or numbers. It was about capability and willingness. Humanity was still a warrior species, and that made them fundamentally different from the peaceful civilizations of the Council. On the 19th day of their journey, everything changed. The two ships emerged from a jump into normal space for recalibration. It was a routine procedure they had performed a dozen times already. But this time, they were not alone. 7 ships surrounded them almost immediately. They were smaller than the Resolute, but larger than the Harmonious Discovery. Their design was crude and aggressive, covered in spikes and weapons. "Contact!" Lieutenant Webb shouted. "Multiple hostile vessels. They are powering weapons." Jessica's hand hit the alert button. Klaxons blared throughout the Resolute. "Battle stations, all hands to combat positions." On the communications channel, she could hear panic on the Harmonious Discovery. "Commander Zekthar, report," Jessica called. Zekthar's voice came through, strained with fear. "Krill raiders, Captain. They are attacking." The lead Krill ship opened fire before Jessica could respond. A massive plasma bolt struck the Harmonious Discovery's shields, and the science vessel shuddered under the impact. More shots followed, rapid and brutal. The Krill were not trying to disable the ship. They were trying to destroy it. "Shields failing on the Harmonious Discovery," Webb reported. "They will not survive another volley." Jessica did not hesitate. She had trained for combat scenarios her entire career. Every human military officer did. "Webb, engage the enemy. Target their weapon systems. Tanaka, jam their communications. All weapons free." The TFW Resolute went to war. The Krill raiders, had never encountered anything like it. They were used to attacking weak council ships with minimal defenses. They expected an easy victory. Instead, they found a human warship that had been built specifically for one purpose: to fight and win. The Resolute's railguns opened fire first, accelerating metal slugs to relativistic speeds. 3 krill ships exploded in the first salvo, their hulls unable to withstand the kinetic impacts. The remaining raiders scattered, confused by the violence of the response. "Launch missiles," Jessica ordered. "Nuclear-pumped laser warheads, proximity detonation." 6 missiles streaked from the Resolute's launch tubes. They raced toward the krill ships, weaving through defensive fire. When they reached optimal range, they detonated. The nuclear explosions lasted only microseconds, but in that brief moment, they pumped enormous energy into laser arrays that fired in all directions. 2 more krill ships died, cut apart by laser beams. The remaining 2 tried to flee, but the Resolute was faster. Webb targeted their engines with precision strikes, crippling them. 4 minutes after it began, the battle was over. 7 krill ships were destroyed or disabled. The Resolute had not taken a single hit. Jessica took a deep breath and opened the channel to the harmonious discovery. "Commander Zekthar, status report." There was a long pause. When Zekthar finally spoke, his voice was shaken. "We have casualties, Captain. 12 injured, 3 seriously. Our shields are down, and we have hull breaches on decks 2 and 3. But we are alive. Thanks to you." Jessica looked at the tactical display. The krill ships floated lifelessly in space, broken and burning. She felt no satisfaction, only a grim sense of necessity. "We are sending medical teams and repair supplies. Hold tight, Commander. We will get you fixed up." As the rescue operations began, Jessica could not help but wonder what the Galactic Council would think when they learned that humanity's idea of defense was the complete annihilation of any threat. Commander Zekthar stood in the medical bay of the harmonious Discovery and watched the human doctors work. They had transported over from the Resolute 30 minutes ago, bringing medical equipment and supplies. Now they moved efficiently through the injured Vrin crew, treating wounds with confident precision. The lead doctor, a woman named Dr. Aisha Kimani, worked on Science Officer Kelrin. He had suffered burns from an exploding console during the krill attack. Dr. Kimani applied something she called regenerative gel to the burns while explaining the process in a calm, reassuring voice. "The gel contains synthetic proteins that stimulate your natural healing," she said. "You should feel relief from the pain within minutes. The burns will heal fully in a few days." Kelrin's usual enthusiasm was subdued. "Thank you, Doctor. I have never been in combat before." "None of us have." Dr. Kimani nodded sympathetically. "Combat is always traumatic, especially the first time. If you need someone to talk to about what happened, we have counselors available." Zekthar appreciated the offer, but he wondered if human counselors could understand Vrin psychology. Then again, the humans seemed to understand trauma very well, perhaps too well. Lieutenant Salmeet approached Zekthar, her 4 eyes still wide with shock. "Commander, the damage control teams from the Resolute are helping our engineers seal the hull breaches. They are very efficient and very aggressive in their repairs." Zekthar did not understand the last part. "Aggressive repairs?" "They cut away the damaged sections and weld in replacement plates," Salmeet explained. "It is not elegant, but it is fast and effective. Our engineers usually prefer to repair damage carefully, preserving as much of the original structure as possible. The humans simply remove the problem and replace it." That seemed to sum up the human approach to most things, Zekthar thought. Direct and practical without concern for elegance. He left the medical bay and made his way to the bridge. Captain Okonkwo had requested a video conference, and Zekthar wanted privacy for the conversation. He arrived to find most of his bridge crew still shaken. The attack had been their first real taste of danger. Pilot Tekmil kept glancing at his console as if expecting another ambush. Even calm, logical Salmeet seemed rattled. Zekthar activated the communication system. Captain Okonkwo appeared on the screen, sitting in her command chair. Behind her, the Resolute's bridge looked nothing like the peaceful artistic design of council ships. It was purely functional, with redundant systems and reinforced stations. A ship built for war. "Commander Zekthar," Jessica said. "You're wounded?" "They will recover thanks to your medical team," Zekthar replied. "Captain, I must thank you again. Without your intervention, the krill would have destroyed us. You saved 47 lives today." Jessica's expression was serious. "We did what any decent people would do. We protected those who could not protect themselves." She paused. "Commander, I have been reviewing the data from the battle. The krill ships were equipped with heavy weapons and armored hulls. They were designed for raiding and combat, but your ship had almost no defensive capability beyond basic shields. Why?" Zekthar felt embarrassed by the question. "The Galactic Council does not build warships, Captain. We have defense monitors for important locations, but exploration vessels like mine are meant for science, not combat. We rely on Council law to protect us." "But the krill do not follow Council law," Jessica pointed out. "No, they do not. They are outcasts, operating in the dark spaces between Council territories." Zekthar hesitated. "Captain, I must confess something. In my 20 cycles as a ship commander, I have never been in a combat situation. I have never even seen weapons fired in anger. Council space is very peaceful. Attacks like this are extremely rare." Jessica leaned forward. "Commander, how rare is extremely rare?" Zekthar consulted his computer. "According to Council records, there have been approximately 200 krill attacks in the past century, scattered across millions of cubic light-years of space. Most were against isolated cargo vessels or small exploration ships like mine. The krill avoid Council defense forces." He could see Jessica doing the calculation. 200 attacks in 100 years across an area of space so vast it was hard to comprehend. To the Council, the krill were a minor nuisance, a statistical anomaly. Ships took precautions, but the risk was considered minimal. "Captain, I can see what you are thinking," Zekthar said. "To humanity, which has recent experience with war, our approach must seem foolish. But you must understand the scale of Council space. The chances of encountering hostile forces are incredibly small." "Until they are not," Jessica said quietly. "Commander, 200 attacks may seem small to you, but that is 200 crews that faced what we just faced. How many ships were destroyed? How many lives were lost?" Zekthar checked the records. Approximately 30 ships were destroyed completely. Casualty figures are incomplete, but estimated at over 4,000 deaths. 4,000 deaths that could have been prevented, Jessica said. Her voice was not accusatory, just sad. "Commander, I mean no disrespect to your civilization. You have achieved something beautiful, a peaceful society that spans the galaxy. But peace requires protection. Someone must stand guard." "You sound like you are volunteering," Zekthar said. Jessica smiled slightly. "I suppose I am. Commander, when we reach the Council station, there will be questions about humanity's place in the galactic community. I want you to understand something important. We are not warlike for the sake of violence. We are warriors because we have learned that peace must be defended. We carry weapons not because we want to use them, but because we refuse to be helpless when danger comes." Zekthar considered her words. "That is a very different philosophy from the Council's approach. We believe that by abandoning weapons we reduce the temptation for violence. And we believe that by maintaining weapons we give ourselves a choice," Jessica countered. "The choice to defend the innocent. The choice to stop those who would do harm. The krill did not attack you because you had weapons. They attacked you because you were an easy target." The conversation was interrupted by an alert from the sensor station. Salmeet called out, "Commander, I am detecting multiple jump signatures. Incoming vessels." Zekthar felt fear grip his chest. "More krill?" "Negative, sir. These are Council signatures." Salmeet sounded relieved. 4 ships, defense monitors based on their energy profiles. Within minutes, 4 large Council vessels emerged from jump space. They were blocky and utilitarian, designed for system defense rather than combat. But they were armed and armored far better than the Harmonious Discovery. A communication came through. This is Commander Trillax of the Council Defense Force. We received an automated distress signal from this sector. State your status. Zekthar responded, "This is Commander Zekthar of the science vessel Harmonious Discovery. We were attacked by Krill raiders. The threat has been neutralized." There was a pause. Neutralized? Commander, our sensors are detecting debris from 7 vessels. Did you destroy 7 Krill ships? Not exactly, Commander Trillax. We had assistance from a new contact. A previously unknown species called humans. Zekthar gestured to his communications officer to include the Resolute in the channel. Captain Okonkwo appeared on the shared frequency. This is Captain Jessica Okonkwo of the Terran Federation warship Resolute. We responded to the distress of the Harmonious Discovery and engaged the hostile forces. The silence that followed was long and uncomfortable. Finally, Commander Trillax spoke. "Captain Okonkwo, we are detecting your vessel now. It is heavily armed." "Yes, it is," Jessica said simply. "We are a military vessel." "I see. Captain, I must request that you power down your weapons. Your ship is making my crew very nervous." Jessica's expression did not change. "With respect, Commander Trillax, we will maintain our current defensive posture until we are certain there are no additional threats in the area. However, we will not take any aggressive action. You have my word on that." Zekthar could see the tension in the situation. The Council Defense Forces were not used to dealing with heavily armed foreign vessels, but he also understood Jessica's position. She would not make her ship vulnerable after just fighting a battle. "Commander Trillax, I can vouch for Captain Okonkwo and her crew," Zekthar said quickly. "They saved our lives and asked nothing in return. They are allies, not enemies." After another long pause, Trillax responded, "Very well, Captain Okonkwo, you may maintain your defensive stance, but please understand that we will be watching your vessel closely." "Understood and accepted," Jessica said. The 4 Council defense ships took up positions around the area, scanning the wreckage of the Krill vessels. Zekthar used the time to file his official report with Council headquarters. He detailed the first contact with humanity, the journey to the Council station, and the Krill attack. He emphasized the professionalism and courage of the Resolute's crew. He also included something that troubled him deeply. In his report, he wrote, "The human vessel destroyed 7 Krill raiders in approximately 4 minutes with 0 damage to itself. This demonstrates military capability far beyond anything currently present in Council Defense Forces. Recommend immediate high-level discussions regarding human integration into Council structure." As he sent the report, he wondered what kind of response it would generate. The Council moved slowly, preferring consensus and careful deliberation. But this situation required faster thinking. Over the next few hours, repair work continued on the Harmonious Discovery. The human engineering teams worked alongside Vrin crew members, teaching them new techniques and sharing stories. Zekthar noticed something interesting. His crew, which had been terrified of the humans just hours before, was now developing a grudging respect. Kelrin, recovered from his burns, spent time talking with one of the human engineers. "Your species has experienced so much conflict," he said. "It must be exhausting." The engineer, a young man named Carlos Mendez, shrugged. "It is what we know, but we are learning. The Terran Federation has been at peace internally for 50 years now. That may not seem like long to you, but for us it is a miracle. We are trying to be better." "You already saved us," Kelrin said quietly. "That seems pretty good to me." In the medical bay, Dr. Kamani was explaining human medical philosophy to one of the Vrin doctors. "We have a saying on Earth. First, do no harm, but we also believe in doing whatever it takes to save a life. We are aggressive in our treatments because we refuse to accept death easily." "That explains much about your species," the Vrin doctor said. "You fight death as you fight everything else, with determination and force. And usually with success," Dr. Kamani said with a smile. On the bridge of the Resolute, Jessica reviewed the data from the battle. Lieutenant Webb had compiled a full analysis of their weapons' performance. The railguns had worked perfectly. The missiles had exceeded expectations. The electronic warfare suite had jammed the Krill communications completely. "We dominated them," Webb said. "They never had a chance." "That is because they were used to fighting unarmed targets," Jessica replied. "Against a real military vessel, they were outmatched. But do not become overconfident, Lieutenant. The Krill were raiders, not a disciplined military force. We do not know what other threats exist in this galaxy." Commander David Okonkwo entered the bridge carrying a data pad. "Sister, you need to see this. I have been studying the Council databases, specifically their military history, or rather, their lack of military history." Jessica took the pad and read through the information. Her frown deepened as she processed what she was seeing. The Galactic Council had not fought a major war in over 50,000 years. Their defense forces were designed primarily for disaster relief and search and rescue operations. They had weapons, but those weapons were outdated and limited. The concept of strategic warfare, of combined arms tactics, of aggressive defense, all of these were things the Council species had simply forgotten. "They are defenseless," Jessica said quietly. "Not because they are weak, but because they have forgotten how to fight." "And now they have met a species that never forgot," David said. "Jessica, what happens when we reach the Council station? What happens when they see what humanity is capable of?" Jessica looked at the view screen, where the harmonious Discovery floated, still undergoing repairs. She thought about Zekthar and his crew, peaceful scientists who had nearly died today. She thought about the 40,000 species of the Council, all living in relative peace, unaware of how vulnerable they truly were. "I think," Jessica said slowly, "that we are about to change everything." The Council Station Meridian was unlike anything Captain Jessica Okonkwo had ever seen. It was massive, a structure the size of a small moon, built over the course of thousands of years. The outer ring housed docking facilities for ships of every imaginable design. The middle sections contained markets, residential areas, and cultural centers. The core held the council chambers themselves, where representatives from 40,000 species gathered to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. The Resolute approached the station slowly, flanked by the harmonious Discovery and the 4 defense monitors.
As they drew closer, Jessica could see hundreds of ships coming and going. Cargo vessels, passenger liners, scientific research craft, all moving in carefully choreographed patterns like a dance. "Captain, we are receiving approach vectors from..."
"Station Control," Ensign Tanaka reported. "They are assigning us a military docking port on the outer ring, Section 17. "Of course they are," Lieutenant Webb muttered. "They do not know where else to put a warship." Jessica understood his frustration. The Council had peace vessels and defense monitors, but no real warships. The Resolute, with its weapons and armor, was something outside their experience. "Follow their instructions exactly," Jessica ordered. "I want no misunderstandings. We are guests here." The docking procedure took an hour. The port assigned to them was designed for large vessels, and the Resolute fit comfortably. As the docking clamps engaged and the airlock sealed, Jessica gathered her senior officers. "Listen carefully," she said. "We are the first humans most of these beings will ever see. Our actions here will determine how the galaxy views our entire species. I expect everyone to be professional, courteous, and calm. We are not conquerors. We are explorers seeking friendship." "What about our weapons, Captain?" Webb asked. "Do we leave them here?" Jessica had considered this question carefully. "You will carry sidearms, as is standard for military personnel, but keep them holstered and out of sight. We are not looking for trouble." Commander David Okonkwo added, "Remember that most Council species have not seen weapons like ours in thousands of years. Try not to scare anyone." The crew acknowledged their orders. Jessica selected a small team to accompany her: David, Dr. Kimani, Lieutenant Webb, and Ensign Tanaka. They represented the key departments of the ship and could speak knowledgeably about different aspects of humanity. When the airlock opened, they found Commander Zekthar waiting for them with a delegation of Council officials. Jessica recognized a Tilmarian like Lieutenant Salmeet, a Vryn like Zekthar, and 3 other species she did not recognize. One looked like a floating jellyfish, another resembled a crystalline structure that glowed with internal light, and the third was covered in thick fur with multiple legs. "Captain Okonkwo, welcome to Station Meridian," Zekthar said formally. "May I introduce Council Representative Harshin of the Tilmarians, Council Representative Kelvar of the Luminari, Council Representative Takos of the Vryn Collective, Council Representative Velnor of the Arkathi, and First Diplomat Sulvex of the Keltharian Empire." Jessica and her team had been studying council protocols during the journey. She gave the appropriate gesture of respect for each species. "Thank you for welcoming us, representatives. I am Captain Jessica Okonkwo of the Terran Federation. These are my officers." The introductions continued. Jessica noticed that all of the council representatives kept their distance from her team. They were polite but visibly uncomfortable. It was the weapons, she realized. Even though the sidearms were concealed, the council beings could probably detect them with their sensors. "Captain, we have prepared quarters for you and your crew," Sulvex said. The diplomat was Keltharian, the jellyfish-like being that floated rather than walked. Its voice came from a translation device that rendered its bioluminescent language into words. "We thought you might appreciate rest before the formal proceedings begin." "That is kind of you," Jessica replied. "However, I would like to discuss the status of my ship. Will the Resolute remain docked here during the proceedings?" "That is one of the matters we need to discuss," Takos said carefully. The Vryn representative looked older than Zekthar, with grayer skin and more prominent wrinkles. "Your vessel is causing some concern among station security. It is very heavily armed." Jessica kept her expression neutral. "The Resolute is a standard frigate by Terran Federation standards. We have much larger warships in our fleet." The council representatives exchanged glances. This was clearly not the answer they wanted to hear. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation in private," Harshin suggested. The Tilmarians' 4 eyes looked troubled. They were led to a conference room deep within the station. The room was beautiful, with walls that displayed calming images of alien landscapes. The furniture adjusted automatically to accommodate different body types. It was designed to promote peaceful negotiation, and Jessica appreciated the thought that had gone into it. Once everyone was settled, Takos began the real conversation. "Captain Okonkwo, we have reviewed Commander Zekthar's report of the Krill attack. We are grateful for your intervention and the lives you saved. However, we have concerns about the methods you employed." Jessica had been expecting this. "You are referring to the destruction of the Krill vessels?" "Yes. Your weapons are extremely powerful and, forgive me for saying this, quite brutal. The Council banned kinetic weapons and explosive devices thousands of years ago. We consider them inhumane." "More inhumane than allowing raiders to kill innocent people?" Jessica asked. Her tone was respectful but firm. Kelvar, the crystalline luminary, glowed brighter as it spoke. "We understand that your species has a different cultural context, but the level of violence in that engagement troubles us. 7 ships destroyed in 4 minutes. That is not defense, Captain. That is annihilation." Dr. Kamani spoke up. "With respect, Representative Kelvar, those 7 ships were actively trying to kill 47 innocent crew members. They had already damaged the Harmonious Discovery and caused casualties. My captain did what was necessary to stop an immediate threat." "There are other ways to stop threats," Velnor said. The furry Arkathi spoke gently, like a teacher explaining something to a child. "Disabling weapons, jamming communications, targeting engines. The Council prefers methods that preserve life whenever possible." "We did preserve life," Jessica said. "We preserved the lives of Commander Zekthar and his entire crew. As for the Krill, they chose to become combatants. They fired first. They showed no mercy. We responded with appropriate force." "That is the issue, Captain," Takos said. "What?" "You consider appropriate force, we consider excessive. It reveals a fundamental difference in philosophy." Jessica leaned forward. Representatives, let me be very direct with you. The Krill attacked because they believed the harmonious discovery was defenseless. They were predators hunting prey. If we had tried to disable them gently, they would have adapted and continued fighting. We ended the threat completely, quickly, efficiently, and most importantly, we saved every life on the harmonious discovery. At the cost of potentially hundreds of Krill lives, Harshin pointed out. Krill, who were attempting murder, David said sharply. Let us not pretend the attackers were innocent victims. The tension in the room increased. Sulvex, who had been quiet until now, held up a tentacle-like appendage. Please, let us not turn this into an argument. Captain Okonkwo, I think the representatives are trying to explain that the Council has worked very hard to create a culture of non-violence. Your actions, while effective, run counter to everything we have built. Jessica took a deep breath. This was the critical moment. First Diplomat Sulvex, I respect what the Council has achieved. A civilization of 40,000 species living in peace is a miracle. But I must ask you a question. How long can that peace last if you have no way to defend it? We have defense forces, Takos said. Do you? Jessica pulled up her datapad and displayed the information her brother had compiled. According to your own records, the Council Defense Forces consist primarily of search and rescue vessels with minimal offensive capability. Your largest warships have not been updated in over 2,000 years. Your military training focuses on disaster relief, not combat. You have forgotten how to fight. We chose to forget, Kelvar said, its crystalline body pulsing with emotion. War is a disease. We cured ourselves of it. No, Jessica said quietly. You quarantined yourselves from it. But the disease still exists out there. The Krill are just one symptom. There must be others. Species that did not join your peaceful federation. Forces that see your peace as weakness. Commander Zekthar, who had been silent during the debate, finally spoke. She is right. All eyes turned to him. The Vryn commander looked uncomfortable but determined. Captain Okonkwo is right. I have been thinking about this since the attack. The Krill have been raiding Council ships for over a century. We treat them as a minor nuisance, an acceptable risk. But they are not a nuisance to the 4,000 people who died. They are not an acceptable risk to the crews who face them. What are you suggesting, Commander? Takos asked. I am suggesting that we have become complacent, Zekthar said. We rely on the vastness of space to protect us. We assume that because conflict is rare, we do not need to prepare for it. But today, I watched a human crew risk their lives to save mine. They did not hesitate. They did not debate philosophy. They acted, and because they acted, I am alive. Harshin's 4 eyes narrowed. Are you advocating for the militarization of Council space? I am advocating for the ability to defend ourselves, Zekthar replied. There is a difference. The debate continued for another hour. The Council representatives raised valid concerns about introducing military thinking into their peaceful civilization. Jessica countered with practical examples of threats that existed whether the Council acknowledged them or not. Finally, Sulvex called for a break. This is clearly a complex issue that will require extensive discussion. Captain Okonkwo, the full Council will convene tomorrow to address your presence here and humanity's potential membership. I suggest we all rest and prepare our thoughts. Jessica and her team returned to their quarters. The rooms were comfortable and well appointed, with adjustments made for human physiology. Someone had even provided Earth-style food, though Jessica suspected it was synthesized based on data from their ship. That went about as well as expected, David said, sitting heavily in a chair. They are terrified of us. Not terrified, Dr. Kamani corrected. Concerned. There is a difference. They are worried that contact with humanity will corrupt their culture of peace. They might be right, Lieutenant Webb said quietly. We are warriors. That is what we are good at. If we integrate with the Council, that will change them. Or it might save them, Ensign Tanaka suggested. The captain is right. Peace requires protection, Without us, how long before something worse than the krill comes along? Jessica walked to the window and looked out at the vast station. Thousands of beings moved through the corridors below, living their peaceful lives, creating art and science and culture. It was beautiful, it was precious, and it was vulnerable. We need to show them something, Jessica said suddenly. Words are not enough. They need to see what humanity can offer beyond violence. What did you have in mind? David asked. Jessica turned to her team with a slight smile. Tomorrow, when we speak to the full council, we will give them a choice. Not between war and peace, but between helplessness and protection. We will offer them something the galaxy has not seen in 50,000 years. A guardian who chooses to defend rather than conquer. The next morning, Jessica woke early and spent time reviewing her prepared speech. She had to get this right. The future of human-council relations depended on it. Perhaps the future of both civilizations. When the time came, she dressed in her formal uniform and gathered her team. Commander Zekthar met them outside the council chambers. "Captain, I should warn you," he said. "The chamber will be filled with representatives from hundreds of species. It can be overwhelming." "I have addressed large groups before, Commander," Jessica said with more confidence than she felt. "Not like this," Zekthar said gently. He was right. When the doors opened and Jessica entered the council chambers, she stopped in her tracks. The room was enormous, a sphere hundreds of meters in diameter. Seating sections for different species ringed the interior at multiple levels, and every seat was filled. Thousands of beings watched her enter, representing the diversity of the entire galaxy. Jessica felt very small and very alone. But then she remembered why she was here. She was not speaking for herself. She was speaking for humanity, and for the innocent people who deserved protection. She walked to the center platform and waited for silence. When it came, she began to speak, and her words would change the galaxy forever. Captain Jessica Okonkwo stood at the center of the council chamber and felt the weight of thousands of eyes upon her. The sphere around her hummed with quiet conversation as representatives from hundreds of species discussed the strange human who had entered their domain. She could hear the translation devices rendering her appearance into countless languages, describing the predator-like forward-facing eyes, the strange configuration of her limbs, the obvious musculature that suggested a species built for physical conflict. A deep tone echoed through the chamber, calling for silence. A holographic display appeared above Jessica's head, showing her image alongside data about Earth and humanity. The information was incomplete and clearly compiled hastily from the data packages she had shared, but it was enough to give the Council a basic understanding. This assembly recognizes Captain Jessica Okonkwo of the species designated humans, native to the planet called Earth, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Jessica learned later that it was an AI system that managed council proceedings. Captain Okonkwo has been granted permission to address the full council regarding the matter of first contact and potential membership in the Galactic Council. "The floor is yours, Captain." Jessica took a breath and began. "Honored representatives, I stand before you today as an explorer from a young species. Humanity has only recently developed faster than light travel. We have only recently united our own planet under a single government. We are children compared to the civilizations represented here." She paused, letting that sink in. But children can sometimes see things that adults have forgotten, and I believe there is something the Council has forgotten. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Jessica continued before anyone could interrupt. "You have forgotten what it means to be afraid. You have forgotten what it means to be vulnerable. You have created a paradise here, a civilization built on peace and cooperation. It is beautiful. It is admirable, and it is in danger." The murmurs grew louder. Jessica raised her voice slightly. 3 days ago, my ship encountered Commander Zekthar of the Harmonious Discovery. We were preparing for peaceful first contact when Creel raiders attacked. 7 hostile vessels attempted to destroy an unarmed science ship and kill 47 innocent beings. The attack was brutal and without mercy. Jessica pulled up footage from the battle, displaying it on the holographic Screens. The council representatives watched in silence as the krill ships fired on the harmonious Discovery. They saw the damage, the injuries, the terror of a crew facing death. My crew responded, Jessica said. We engaged the krill and eliminated the threat. All 7 hostile vessels were destroyed or disabled. The crew of the harmonious Discovery survived with no additional casualties after we intervened. The footage showed the Resolute's counterattack, the railgun strikes, the missile detonations, the complete and overwhelming defeat of the krill raiders. Jessica heard gasps and sounds of distress from the audience. Many council species had not witnessed combat in their entire lives. I understand that our methods trouble you, Jessica said. I understand that the council banned kinetic weapons and explosive devices thousands of years ago, but I must ask you this. Would you have preferred we let the krill kill Commander Zekthar and his crew? That is not a fair question, came a voice from the seating area. Jessica looked up to see Representative Takos standing. The choice is not between violence and death. There are other options, are there? Jessica challenged. Representatives, I have studied your records. The krill have been attacking council ships for over a century. They have destroyed at least 30 vessels and killed over 4,000 people. What has the council done to stop them? Takos looked uncomfortable. We have increased patrols in high-risk areas. We have improved communication systems so ships can call for help faster. We have negotiated with neighboring systems to try to limit krill safe havens. And the attacks continue, Jessica said, because the krill know that council ships cannot fight back effectively. They know that even your defense monitors are designed more for rescue than combat. You have tried everything except the one thing that would actually work, demonstrating that attacking council vessels carries a lethal cost. You are advocating for a return to military violence, said another representative, this one from a species Jessica did not recognize. You would have us abandon millennia of progress toward peace. No, Jessica said firmly. I am advocating for the protection of that peace. Representatives, may I share a story from Earth's history? Without waiting for permission, she continued. 500 years ago, before humanity achieved spaceflight, there was a nation on Earth that chose absolute pacifism. They disbanded their military, refused to maintain weapons, and dedicated themselves entirely to peaceful pursuits. They were idealistic and admirable. And when a neighboring nation decided to invade them, they were conquered in weeks. Millions died. Their culture was nearly destroyed. Jessica let that sink in. The lesson humanity learned is this. Peace is not the absence of the capacity for violence. Peace is the choice not to use that capacity, a choice you can only make if you have the ability to defend yourself. You speak of choice, came a melodious voice from above. Jessica looked up to see a being of pure energy floating in one of the upper galleries. But your weapons do not allow for choice. They destroy completely. They kill without discrimination. You are wrong, Jessica said. Our weapons give us the choice to defend the defenseless, the choice to stop evil acts, the choice to say no further to those who would do harm. The krill chose to attack. We chose to stop them. That is the difference. Commander Zekthar stood up from his position in the gallery. May I speak? The AI system acknowledged him. The floor recognizes Commander Zekthar, captain of the harmonious Discovery. Zekthar's voice was steady as he addressed the council. Representatives, I am a Vryn. My species has been part of the council for 8,000 years. I was raised to believe in peace and diplomacy and the sanctity of all life. 3 days ago, I watched krill raiders try to kill me and my entire crew. I felt helpless, I felt terror. And then I watched as these humans, these warriors from a species we had never met, risked their own lives to save ours. He paused, his voice growing stronger. Captain Okonkwo asks us what we have forgotten. I will tell you what I forgot. I forgot that peace has a price. I forgot that someone, somewhere, must be willing to stand between the innocent and those who would do them harm. The humans have not forgotten this. Perhaps that is why we need them. The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives supported Zekthar's position. Others argued against it. Jessica waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. "I am not asking the Council to become warriors," she said. "I am not asking you to abandon your principles or your peace. I am offering an alternative. Humanity will serve as your shield. We will patrol the dangerous regions. We will respond to threats. We will protect Council vessels and member species from hostile forces. In return, you grant us membership in the Council and share your knowledge and technology with us." "You want us to hire you as mercenaries?" someone called out. "No," Jessica said sharply. "Mercenaries fight for money. We would fight for something much more important, the preservation of the most successful, peaceful civilization in galactic history. You have achieved something beautiful here. We want to help you keep it." Dr. Kimani stood up from where she had been sitting with the other humans. "May I add something, Captain?" Jessica nodded. Aisha walked to the center platform to join her. "Representatives, I am a doctor," Aisha said. "My oath is to preserve life. Everything I do is in service of that goal. When I see the medical advances the Council has made, the diseases you have cured, the suffering you have eliminated, I am amazed. You have knowledge that could save millions of human lives, and humanity has something to offer you in return. Protection for the researchers and doctors who do that work. We are not just warriors. We are guardians who want to help you continue your mission of peace." Lieutenant Webb stood next, followed by Commander David Okonkwo, and then Ensign Tanaka. One by one, they added their voices to Jessica's proposal. Webb spoke of tactical expertise and security protocols. David talked about combined human council crews sharing knowledge and culture. Tanaka discussed the potential for human exploration vessels to work alongside Council science ships, providing protection while learning from their discoveries. The debate raged for hours. Some Council members were adamantly opposed to allowing humans into their civilization. They saw humanity as a corrupting influence, a species too violent and too young to be trusted. Others were intrigued by the proposal, recognizing the practical benefits of having an ally who could address threats the Council had long ignored. Finally, First Diplomat Solvex called for order. The Keltharian floated to a central position, its bioluminescence pulsing in complex patterns that the translators rendered into words. "This debate has revealed deep divisions within the Council," Solvex said. "Some of us see humanity as dangerous, others see them as necessary. Perhaps both views are correct. The question is, which do we prioritize, our fear or our need?" Solvex turned its attention to Jessica. "Captain Okonkwo, if the Council were to accept your proposal, what guarantees could you offer that humanity would not abuse this position? What would prevent your species from becoming the very threat we need protection from?" Jessica had been waiting for this question. "We would accept Council oversight. Human military vessels would operate under joint command with Council liaisons aboard every ship. We would submit to regular inspections and reviews, and most importantly, we would give you something no tyrant would ever offer: the power to revoke our authority at any time. If the Council decides humanity has failed in its duties, or has overstepped its bounds, you can dissolve the agreement and expel us from Council space." "That is a significant concession," Takos said, sounding surprised. "Because we mean what we say," Jessica replied. "We are not seeking power over you. We are offering partnership." Solvex consulted with the other senior Council members. They conferred in private for several minutes while the chamber buzzed with speculation. Finally, they emerged with a decision. "The Council will vote on the following resolution," Solvex announced. "Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council for a period of 10 years. During this time, human military vessels will serve as an auxiliary defense force, protecting Council interests and responding to threats. Human crews will operate under Council authority with joint command structures. At the end of 10 years, the Council will review humanity's performance and vote on permanent membership." Solvex paused, its body glowing brighter. "Additionally, this arrangement will be known formally as the Terran Defense Initiative. However, I believe a more accurate name would be the Dangerous Alliance, because that is what it is: an alliance between those who have forgotten danger and those who have never stopped preparing for it. The vote was called. Jessica watched as the display showed the tally. It was not unanimous. Thousands of species voted against the resolution, but more voted in favor. The final count was 63% approval. The resolution passes, the AI announced. Humanity is welcomed as a provisional member of the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species cheered, others protested loudly, but it was done. History had been made. Jessica felt David's hand on her shoulder. "We did it," he said quietly. "We actually did it." "No," Jessica replied. "Now the real work begins." 3 months later, Captain Jessica Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Resolute and watched the tactical display. Her ship was no longer alone. 2 Council science vessels traveled with them, along with a defense monitor. It was a mixed patrol, the first of many. The Resolute had been modified since joining the Council. The weapons were still formidable, but new systems had been added. Enhanced sensors from Tilmarian technology, medical facilities designed by Luminary doctors, communication systems that could translate instantly between human speech and dozens of alien languages. And on her bridge stood Lieutenant Salmeet, seconded from the Harmonious Discovery to serve as the Council liaison. The Tilmarian worked efficiently at the tactical station, her 4 eyes monitoring multiple screens at once. "Captain, I am detecting an automated distress beacon," Salmeet reported. "Council cargo vessel, approximately 20 light minutes away. The signal indicates they are under attack." Jessica's response was immediate. "Battle stations, set course to intercept, maximum speed. Notify our convoy partners that we are responding to an emergency." As the Resolute surged forward, its weapons coming online, Jessica felt a sense of purpose that went beyond duty. This was what humanity could offer the galaxy. Not just weapons and violence, but the willingness to stand between the innocent and the darkness. The cargo vessel came into view on the main screen. It was surrounded by 6 hostile ships, smaller than the Krill Raiders but no less dangerous. They were pirates, preying on isolated Council vessels. "They are jamming the cargo ship's engines," Salmeet reported, "preparing to board." "Not today," Jessica said. "Webb, transmit on all frequencies. Tell those ships they have one chance to withdraw peacefully. If they refuse, we will engage." The response was immediate and predictable. The pirate ships opened fire on the Resolute. "Return fire," Jessica ordered calmly. "Disable their weapons and engines. I want prisoners for Council justice, not bodies." The Resolute moved with precise efficiency. Railgun shots targeted specific systems, crippling but not destroying. Electronic warfare systems jammed pirate communications. Within 2 minutes, all 6 hostile ships were floating helplessly, their crews trapped but alive. "Cargo vessel secure," Salmeet announced. "No casualties. They are very grateful." Jessica nodded with satisfaction. This was the promise humanity had made. Protection, defense, the willingness to stand between the vulnerable and those who would harm them. Over the following years, the dangerous alliance proved its worth again and again. Human warships patrolled the dangerous regions of Council space. Pirate attacks decreased dramatically. Species that had avoided certain sectors for fear of raids began expanding again. The Krill, faced with opponents who could actually fight, retreated to the deepest reaches of unexplored space. But perhaps more importantly, something unexpected happened. The Council species began to remember what they had forgotten. Not how to make war, but how to defend themselves. Inspired by human example, some species began updating their defense forces, not to conquer, but to protect. Council ship designs started incorporating better shields and defensive weapons, and humanity, for its part, learned from the Council. Human doctors studied luminary medicine. Human scientists collaborated with Vrin researchers. Human artists created works inspired by the thousands of alien cultures they encountered. The warriors became students, and in doing so, proved they were more than just their weapons. 10 years after that first meeting, the Council convened again to vote on humanity's permanent membership. The debate was shorter this time. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 87% approval. Humanity was home. Captain Jessica Okonkwo, now Admiral Okonkwo and commander of the entire Terran Defense Fleet, stood before the council once more. She was older now, with gray in her hair, but her voice was still strong. 10 years ago, you took a chance on a dangerous species, she said. You gave us the opportunity to prove ourselves. Today, I stand before you not as a stranger, but as a protector of everything the Council represents. We have defended your vessels, saved your people, and stood guard while you continued your mission of peace. And we will continue to do so, for as long as you need us. She looked out at the thousands of representatives, seeing friends now where once there had been only strangers. You called this the Dangerous Alliance. You were right. We are dangerous. Dangerous to those who would do you harm. Dangerous to those who mistake peace for weakness. But to you, to the innocent, to those who build rather than destroy, we are something else. We are your shield, your guardian, your friend. In the gallery, Commander Zekthar, now promoted to Admiral and serving as the liaison between Council, Defense and the Terran fleet stood and began to applaud. Others joined him. Soon the entire chamber echoed with the sounds of approval from 1,000 different species. That evening, Jessica stood at the viewing port of her quarters on Station Meridian and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the small blue planet where humanity had learned to survive, to fight, and eventually to unite. And out there, too, were the thousands of Council worlds, each one now under the protection of species that had once been alone in the darkness. Her communicator chimed. It was David, now a captain himself commanding a mixed human council crew on a deep exploration mission. Sister, I just heard the news about the vote, he said. Congratulations. We are officially part of the galactic community. Thanks, David. How is your mission going? Fantastic. We discovered 3 new habitable worlds today. The Vryn scientists are ecstatic, and the human crew is learning to appreciate their enthusiasm. He paused. Jessica, do you remember what you said to the council 10 years ago about how children can see what adults forget? I remember. I think we have learned what they forgot, but they have taught us something too. They taught us that strength without compassion is just cruelty, that the warrior's true purpose is to protect, not to conquer. That peace is something worth fighting for. Jessica smiled. We still have a long way to go, David. Both species do, but we are learning together. That is what matters. After the call ended, Jessica returned to watching the stars. In the distance, she could see the running lights of the Resolute, docked alongside ships from a dozen different species. Beyond that, other human vessels kept watch, their weapons online, their crews vigilant. The sheep had indeed hired wolves as guardians, but in doing so, they had taught the wolves to be something more. Not tame, not weak, but purposeful, directed, good. The galaxy had changed forever. The Council had learned that peace must be defended. Humanity had learned that strength must serve something greater than itself, and together they had forged something new. A civilization that could be both peaceful and powerful, both gentle and dangerous, both diplomatic and determined. The sleeping giant had awakened not to conquer but to protect, and the galaxy was safer for it.